time once again for Community Forum, and we are very lucky to have with us live in the studios this morning David Cobb and Gabe Meyer. David Cobb is the Outreach Director and founding member of Move to Amend, and Gabe Meyer is the Campaign Director of WAMEND, the Washington Coalition to Amend the Constitution. David and Gabe, thank you very much for coming and spending time with us this morning.
Thanks for having us.
It's a pleasure to be here.
So start out and tell us about each of your organizations, Move to Amend and WAMEND.
Well, thanks, Mike. So Move to Amend is a multiracial, multi-ethnic coalition of groups and individuals who have come together to abolish the illegitimate, totally court-created idea that a corporation must be treated as if it's a person with constitutional rights, and the equally odious, also court-created idea that money is speech. Those are two related but distinct legal doctrines, not laws, not even individual court decisions, but core legal doctrines that have allowed the small ruling elite to literally take over this country. And I want to be clear about something. The wealthy and corporations are not merely exercising power today. They are ruling us. As surely as masters once ruled slaves, as surely as kings once ruled subjects, unelected and unaccountable corporate CEOs are ruling because they're making the decisions. They're deciding whether genetically modified organisms will be in our public food supply. Corporate CEOs are deciding whether you get health care or not. Corporate CEOs are deciding how much toxins and poisons can be in the air that we breathe or the water that we drink. I mean, I'm really serious about this. We have to understand how the system works. And most people, whether they're liberal or conservatives, Democrats, Republicans, Greens, Libertarians, everybody gets that. They understand that. So what we've done at Move to Amend is a careful analysis of the law, of economics, of policy, and recognized these two legal doctrines are the linchpin for how it happens. So whether you care about protecting the environment or genetically modified organisms or healthcare reform or prison reform, no matter what the issue is, I promise you in 1 to 2 steps, I can take that directly to corporate constitutional rights and money is speech. Because if a corporation can claim constitutional rights, what that means is that corporate lawyers can go into court to overturn any democratically enacted law that we pass to protect the environment or protect workers or engage in prison reform or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The second doctrine, if money equals political speech, it means the wealthy and corporations can spend unlimited amounts of money in our elections. And literally in this country, we have seen elections transform into auctions. But that transformation didn't just happen. It was Supreme Court decisions that eroded our ability to pass meaningful campaign finance reform. For example, the Citizens United versus Federal Election Commission literally gutted the McCain-Feingold law. You know, John McCain, Republican, Russ Feingold, Democrat, a bipartisan effort to try to protect the integrity of our elections, which, by the way, not only had bipartisan support in Congress, polling data showed the majority of Americans, that was one of the few things that there was profound fundamental agreement on. With this critique, Americans didn't think McCain-Feingold went far enough. The Supreme Court said it goes too far and treats the wealthy and corporations, wait for it, like a, quote, oppressed minority, end quote, and that it was up to the court to protect them against the democratic process. So, Mike, Move to Amend is a campaign of ordinary people who are coming together and say, in a nutshell, ya basta. Enough already. This is crazy. We, the people, are supposed to rule in the United States. We are supposed to be sovereign, self-governing people in a democratic republic. There can be disagreements on issues, but the principle of self-government is something that's supposed to be absolute. And the Constitution, as the supreme law of the land, is actually supposed to be the framework by which we facilitate the democratic Republican form of government that we have. So Move to Amend's campaign at a national level for a constitutional amendment, it's called We the People Amendment. It is very explicit and clear. It calls for the abolition of corporate constitutional rights and the doctrine of money as speech. And Mike, we began this campaign in 2010. We were 12 people in the living room. Today, we're just about to hit 400,000 people and growing every single day. And that's active members who are actively participating. And how are they participating? Well, 600 communities have passed resolutions of support of Move to Amend. That's city council members and county commissioners voting in support of the campaign to abolish corporate constitutional rights and money as speech. And 16 states have already joined the effort calling for a resolution to abolish corporate personhood and money as speech. Oh, and by the way, we've been on the ballot 300 times. That is to say, ordinary people getting to vote and weigh in on the idea, right? Not just city council members, but literally voters and citizens. Do you support it? Mike, we've been on the ballot 300 times. Guess how many times we've won?
Close to 300.
300. We haven't lost yet. And Mike, that definitely includes the liberal bastions like San Francisco, California, Madison, Wisconsin, Boston, Massachusetts. But you know where else we've won? Salt Lake City, Utah. We've won in Devlin, Wisconsin. Why am I mentioning Devlin, Wisconsin? Because that's the hometown of Republican Tea Party Governor Scott Walker, where they haven't voted for a Democrat for president or Congress in over 40 years. Mike, Move to Amend was on the ballot in Devlin, Wisconsin, and we won. We were on a statewide ballot in Montana. Yeah, that Montana. We were on the ballot statewide in Montana, and we won by 74% of the vote. Mike, when I tell you that this is an issue that is uniting liberals and conservatives, Democrats, Republicans, Greens, Libertarians, Independents, moderates, radicals, I'm not making it up. It's not talking points. It's objective reality. And this movement is getting larger, stronger, better organized every day. And so the Move to Amend, back to your original question, is the national campaign that is facilitating and helping to coordinate efforts all across the country. And I am not being sycophantic. I am not being insincere when I tell you, in my judgment, the reason I'm touring Washington State is because the WAMEND campaign is the single most important, the single best example of ordinary people coming together and rising up. And that brings us to WAMEND.
Thank you. WAMEND is the Washington Coalition to Amend the Constitution. I'm Gabe Meyer. I am the campaign director. And we have an initiative moving forward so that next year, Washington voters will get a chance to vote on this very issue. Like David said, our first 2 points of our initiative are that corporations aren't people and money is not speech. And we also add in that all political donations should be made public. There's no more dark money out there. And that governments, counties, cities, states have the right to make campaign finance laws. These are basically also all a response to the horrible Citizens United ruling that happened about 5 years ago. We are all volunteer signature gathering efforts. So there have been a couple initiatives that are already on the ballot for 2015. You might have heard. One's a horrible Tim Eyman initiative. One is a reasonable initiative about the trade of endangered species, and both of those initiatives had something in common. They had a millionaire or a billionaire write a huge check to pay signature gatherers to get on the ballot. They cost between $1.1 and $1.3 million. We, so far, with all volunteers, have already collected 103,000 signatures. We've been at this for about 3 months. And that's because in every corner of the state, we have people that recognize that money is taking over our system, that big money in elections is changing who rules, like David said. And so from Spokane to Vancouver to Olympia to Everett, we have chapters of WAMEND who are working hard every day to get signatures and to make sure that this gets on the ballot. We have till the end of the year to get 247,000 valid signatures. Our goal is 320,000. By Halloween, we're having a soft end date of Halloween to make sure we get there. And we need people all around the state to help us out. Today, we are having a rally here in Seattle at the Labor Temple starting at 10 a.m. David is going to speak. And we're going Lots of volunteers are coming to help us collect signatures all day at both Hemp Fest and the Seattle Street Food Festival. We had a fantastic weekend last weekend with Bernie Sanders, as you probably can imagine. Bernie Sanders has really shined a light on the issue of money in politics, and so more and more people are coming. We had 125 volunteers out last week, and we need more people. The truth of the matter is that we need at least 20% more volunteers working throughout the state to make sure we get on the ballot.
And, thank you, Gabe, for that. This is David Cobb nationally, and I'm going to, it's true we need your help. And you, the listener of KEXP, you need us. You need us to succeed, because we can't have a functioning democratic republic unless we deal with the crisis of democracy that is happening now. And so this is my direct appeal to you, the listener. If you're listening to KEXP, we already know a little bit about you. If you're listening to this program, we already know a little bit about you. Frankly, you're more conscious and awake. And I'm not saying that to be sycophantic to you, the listener. I'm just acknowledging you already probably know. I listened to this segment before, a very informative segment about seeds and its role in civilization and so forth. Very informative, very good information. See, most people don't know that. You do, KEXP listener. Now, you probably already knew that corporations were running amok in this society. You probably already knew that elections were being turned into auctions. Now, with humility, I say you have a little more precise information, a little more clarity around corporate constitutional rights and money as speech as legal doctrines and how the court created those doctrines, and that's really the problem, a core linchpin part of the problem. But you know what else you know, KEXP listener? That there's a solution, that there is an absolute solution. It is going to involve the work of building a mass movement of ordinary people coming together to amend the Constitution, just like the mass movements that actually led to the American Revolution, or the abolitionist movement, or the women's suffrage movement, or the trade union movement, or the civil rights movement, or the LGBTQ movement. See, those movements actually confronted power, just like Move to Amend and WAMEN confronts power. So you know that too. And you know what else you knew, KEXP listener? You know that there's something that you can do. If you live in Seattle, today you can come to the Labor Temple at 10 a.m. and get training on how to get involved right away in the campaign. And if you can't get to the Labor Temple, come and see us at Hemp Fest or at the Street Food Fair Festival. What a great day that's going to be. And if you can't get away today and you live in Seattle, then go to the website, www.wamend.org. You know, WA as in Washington State, what you put on mail every time. Mend as in mend or fix our democracy. wamend.org. Sign up so we can be in touch with you. Here's the other thing you can do. You can literally request an actual petition. We will send it to you. There'll be a blank spot for 20 signatures. Everybody, even misanthropes, know 20 people that care about this, right? Get 20 of your family and friends to sign this petition and mail it back in. So you know something, you know what there is to do about it. And so I'm kicking it to you, the listener, right now to be thinking about this. Are you willing to put in a little effort to save our democracy? Do you care enough to actually do something? Because yes, getting information is the first step. Knowledge is key. But if you don't act on that knowledge, then you just become a cynic. And I'm trying to inspire you. Gabe is trying to inspire you to get active, to get involved. You know, like every other movement that transforms society. We can do this together. We can't do it unless we get more help. We are like Gabe. You shared some pretty important information about how well WAMEND is doing. We reached a pretty impressive threshold recently.
Yeah, 100,000 signatures so far. We've had that through all volunteers. That's the thing. That is a very impressive step. And we need 200,000 more. And we need more people to help. And we need, to get through the month of August where everybody's on vacation. And we need to keep this up, keep getting out, and getting those signatures.
And these should actually be things that people are fairly familiar with and doing for the long haul. I mean, success here same model can be applied to other issues as well.
Well, there's no doubt about that, and the success here around using the initiative process. Look. Washington State has already been leading the way using the initiative process on changing the culture around things that seemed impossible, right? Marriage equality, let's lift that up. Marijuana legalization, let's lift that up. These are things that, I'm 52 years old, right? I'm old enough to remember a time not so long ago that if anybody told me I would live in a society where gay and lesbian people could actually get married and I could go, which I have done, and participated in ceremonies where people I love actually got married, I would have said, I wish, but that's wishful thinking. That can't happen. I've had the lived experience now. Right? I have, although I don't consume marijuana myself, I have had the privilege of going into a very clean, well-lit place. For those Ernest Hemingway fans, may remember that reference, but a clean, well-lit place where one could go in a very civilized manner and talk about, the person I was with suffers from anxiety, and she was talking about, how that was a problem for her, and the person behind the counter said, well, we have various brands of marijuana that, some people like to just get high. And you know what? That's their right if they want to do that. I'm a civil libertarian. But if you have anxiety issues, here's the strain that might be best for you. And do you want it to take it to go to sleep, or do you want to be up and alert but just be calm? What a wonderful civilized thing. Washington State was at the core of that. You could be at the core of this, although here's the point. I'm going to be honest with y'all. 16 states are already there. Y'all need to be number 17. So you can't be at the very, very cutting edge of it, but you can be involved knee deep. And again, I'm going to circle back. This year, nothing for Move to Amend is more important than WAMEN. So here's the other thing. I know that KEXP listeners are actually all across, actually not just America, but the world. I'm here in the studio, right, and I'm looking at a map where there are pins on where your donor base and where your sustainers and where your supporters come from. And it's kind of beautiful, right, to look at this map and see that pins are all across not only North America, but all across Europe as well. So here's the thing. If you're listening to this conversation and you don't live in Washington State and you're like, but I want to get involved, then for you, I say, here is the website nationally, www.movetoamend.org. Go online, just click the sign the petition, because the online petition is different. It's an organizing petition. It is a way for us to be in touch with you, for you to be in touch with us. We will get you in touch with the statewide or local or county effort wherever you are. I'm looking and I see LA, I see San Francisco, I see Oakland, I see Dallas, I see Austin. Boy, y'all are blowing up in Colorado. We're all up and down the Northeast coast, right? So we have Move to Amend affiliates everywhere, just like KEXP listeners are everywhere. So if you are I know that your base is here in Seattle, so we've got a specific thing for you to do in Seattle today. The Labor Temple, Hemp Fest, Street Food Fair, 10 a.m. at the Labor Temple. If you can't get in touch today, then still anywhere in the state of Washington, wamend.org. If you're anywhere national, I'll say it again, www.movetoamend.org. And if you're just the kind of person who wants to talk to a human being, call us at 707-269-0984, and we'll talk to you, one human being to another.
Even if you're out of this country, you're going to benefit if we can get corporations reined in here in the U.S.
Mike, it's interesting because I do see that you've got people all across the world, and I have the privilege of working in the international global justice movement. Actually, one of my favorite memories of this city was in November of 1999, where 50,000 of my friends got together and had a little party to interrupt the World Trade Organization and do something that none of us, I'll be honest, I knew that I was there to try to disrupt this global cabal. I didn't think we were going to win. I thought I was just going to come and shake my fist and like bear witness and, be part of, a protest. But in Seattle, Washington in November of 1999, I chanted something I've chanted in a lot of places. Whose streets? Our streets. Whose streets? Our streets. In Seattle, November of 1999, I had this phenomenon. Whose streets? Our streets. Whose streets? Our streets. I looked around and I said, oh my God, these are our streets. Our streets. I remember weeping tears like, yes, actually this can work. So I have a very special place in my heart for Seattle, Washington, around what it feels like to win. And a win here on Move to Amend, a win in WAMend actually will help to facilitate the global justice movement against corporate rule.
Talk more about the actual process of amending the Constitution. Obviously, this has happened before. What happens there, and how long does it take?
Sure. So that's a great organizer question and a great strategic question. So remember that the United States Constitution is the supreme law of the land. It's not legislation. It's the principle of self-government. I want to really underscore how critical it is that we win here because it changes the rules of everything. And the Constitution itself, in Article 5, gives specific mechanisms for how the Constitution can be amended. There are actually two ways. The first way is 2/3 of Congress agree to amendment language. That becomes the formal proposal. Then it goes to the states for ratification, and it takes 3/4 of the states to ratify. Now, that's a heavy lift, right? That's one of the hardest things that you can do in politics, and that's why it takes a mass movement to do it. And that movement must be multiracial, it must be multi-ethnic, it must be intergenerational. We need young people, we need elders, we need middle-aged people, we need everybody involved. We need to change the culture. The second way to do it is equally difficult. It's 2/3 of the states call for a constitutional convention, and then any proposal that comes out of that convention must still go through the ratification process, 3/4 of the states. So when you look at it, what we recognize is it takes a mass movement and a political cultural shift, right? Now, usually mass movements take decades. I honestly believe, Mike, we're looking at 15 years to succeed and actually celebrate the constitutional amendment. But there are tipping points, and some things can speed up. I'll remind folks that the amendment to guarantee 18-year-olds the right to vote in the United States of America, that was introduced into Congress, and 7 months later it was ratified. Why? Because the Vietnam War was raging, and 18-year-olds were being drafted and dying allegedly for their country. We won't get into that particular policy, but we will just say they were dying, but they were not allowed to vote. And this was obviously a problem, and it became a rallying cry against the draft. And so the Congress itself, in order to shore up its own power structure, quickly passed the congressional language, and then it went to the states, and like wildfire, 7 months, Mike. All I'm saying is, I think, to answer your question, honestly, we're at 10 to 15 years to celebrate the victory. It could go faster with tipping points, and I want to bring Gabe back in because we were having some conversations around how just doing this effort changes the political culture and empowers people to do other things.
Yes, because in Washington State, we have chapters everywhere in Washington State. It is amazing how places like Jefferson County have hundreds of people collecting signatures. I didn't mention, but this is our second year at this attempt to put an initiative on the ballot. Last year, we did an initiative to the people, which had a much shorter timeline. They, with very little money and very little staff, got about 175,000 signatures in 3 months. That was short. That's about half what you need. And so this year we did an initiative to the legislature, and that basically means that we have till the end of the year. We have about an 8-month window. It's true that if you do not get your signatures in the allotted time, you have to start over. And so this year we've raised a lot more money. We've professionalized the campaign, we've built up our chapters, and we really need and have seen a lot of growth, and we need most of that growth in King County, where all the people are. Like I said, Spokane is kicking butt, but Spokane has about half the people that we have in King County, and so we need more and more folks from King County. I did want to say that if you are out there and you have a list of people that you can start to engage that would be interested in this, contact me. My name is Gabe Meyer, and you can email me at gabemeyer@wamend.org. If you have any ideas of other groups we can reach out to, we are getting more and more and more endorsements every day. We recently got the Washington State Labor Council endorsement. We recently got the endorsement of the Teachers Union, the WEA. All of the individual teachers have unions in their district, and we'd love to go union to union and get those endorsements if and when they can engage their members and have their members collect signatures for us and reach out to their communities. We've also got most of the state Democrat groups. We've got most of the state representatives. Our highest endorsers are Congressman Adam Smith, Congressman Derek Kilmer is a big supporter. We have a lot of, locally, the mayor, Ed Murray, has endorsed our campaign. Dow Constantine's a supporter of our campaign. So we have a lot of folks like that, but this is truly a people's movement, and we need people to help us get it on the ballot. We couldn't just find rich people to give us $1 million and buy our way onto this initiative. We're trying to get money out of politics, and therefore we need a movement of people, of active citizens. And that's what I've found out from everywhere I go, is signature gathering initially is a little hard. It's kind of weird to go out on the street and ask strangers to sign your petition. But then once you get at it, you actually feel like you're engaging your community as a citizen. It's like true citizenship. The reason that initiatives were come up with in the first place is so when the government didn't act, the people can move forward and make things happen. And this is where we need to make things happen, because we know the power structure with big money, with corporate money, with special interests is taking the power away from the people. And this is a true movement to take it back.
And, Gabe, I'm so glad you went through that litany of supporters and endorsements organizationally. It's a great list. And I want to remind Gabe that last night we were in Tacoma, and actually a member of the John Birch Society was there, was very proud to say, I probably disagree with you on policy issues, but the principle of corporate constitutional rights and money is speech, I completely agree with you. Not only did he sign the petition, he took a sheet with him and is going to go to his family and friends. We had the experience in Colville, Utah. Washington. Colville, and it's Colville. Colville, right? It's Colville, Utah. Colville. Washington. But we had the same thing. And what was amazing, Mike, is I remember these people came in and they started with their arms crossed, hunched over, brows furrowed, like, all right, I'll listen, but. And as we began to talk about the principles of sovereignty and self-government and that judicial activism, literally you saw them relax. They got quizzical. They leaned in. By the end of it, they were nodding their heads in agreement. They were clapping along with the liberals and progressives that they disagreed with on all these issues. Mike, Move to Amend and WAMEND is a principle of self-government. It's getting larger, stronger, and better organized.
We found out at the end of the meeting that was a group of Tea Partiers. Those were Tea Party activists that found out about our meeting and came and sat down. And absolutely, the Tea Party was created to fight the big money that is taking over the right. And there are many groups that are fighting the big money taking over the left, because we all understand that is the main problem right now in America.
We're talking with David Cobb with Move to Amend and Gabe Meyer with WAMEND, and just a minute left. Tell people how they can plug in.
Well, I'll do it at the national level and then kick it to Gabe again. So for the national level, the website, www.movetoamend.org, or you can call us on the telephone at 707-269-0984, and you can use Facebook, your own status update, to say, I just joined www.movetoamend.org. And if everybody listening to KXP did that, then probably 50 to 75,000 people will immediately know about it, given your reach, and that's how social media works. So movetoamend.org, 707-269-0984.
And I'm Gabe Meyer. If you have lists or you have people, I will take a meeting with anybody anytime to talk about how we can grow this movement. You can email me at gabemeyer@wamend.org. That's GABEMEYER at WAMEND.org. Visit our website, wamend.org. Sign up. Also, like David said, we have a Facebook page. And then today, come down the Seattle Labor Temple. That's 2800 First Avenue, downtown Seattle. We'll be there at 10 a.m. to 12. We can hear from David. We can do some training. And then we're going to be at HempFest collecting thousands of signatures. Look for our mint green T-shirts. We're everywhere.
Minty fresh democracy.
All right. With that, we are unfortunately out of time. I want to thank you both for coming in and spending time with us this morning.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.